You wake up when your body is ready. No alarm, no schedule, no place you need to be. You sit up, stretch, and ask yourself one question. What should I do today? For 99% of human history, this wasn't a hypothetical. This was every single morning for roughly 300,000 years. And the answer to that question looked nothing like the life you're living right now. Modern humans spend about 90,000 hours of their lives working. That's roughly 1/3 of your waking existence dedicated to a job. But for most of human history, jobs didn't exist. No employment, no wages, no boss, no career ladder. So what did people actually do all day? Let's start with what we know for certain. He tracked the Jufawansi in Botswana, one of the few remaining groups living like pre-agricultural humans. He found that adults spent about 2.5 days per week acquiring food. That's roughly 17 hours. The rest of the time, they did whatever they wanted. And here's the important part. This pattern shows up everywhere anthropologists look. The Hadza in Tanzania, the Aceh in Paraguay, the Martu in Australia. Completely different environments, different continents. Same result, about 15 to 20 hours per week spent on survival activities. For context, you probably work twice that. Now, some of you are thinking, but those are modern people. How do we know ancient humans lived the same way? Fair question. And the answer comes from bones. When archaeologists compare skeletons of ancient humans to early agricultural populations, the difference is dramatic. Farmers were shorter. Their bones show signs of nutritional deficiency. Their teeth were riddled with cavities from grain-heavy diets. They had arthritis in their spines from repetitive labor. And they died younger. Ancient human skeletons. Taller, stronger, healthier teeth, less joint damage. Their bones tell a clear story. They were doing less repetitive physical labor, not more. But the most fascinating evidence comes from art. In 1994, explorers discovered Chauvet Cave in southern France. Inside were paintings created roughly 30,000 years ago. Horses, lions, rhinoceroses, these weren't crude stick figures. This was sophisticated art that required skill, planning, and most importantly, time. Someone spent hours deep inside a cave, painting animals on a wall. Not for survival, but for beauty and meaning. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found 100,000-year-old perforated shell beads. Tiny holes drilled through seashells, clearly meant to be strung together as jewelry. The nearest coastline was 20 kilometers away. Someone walked 40 kilometers round trip just to collect shells. Then spent hours carefully drilling holes with stone tools, just to look good. In 2008, researchers found a 40,000-year-old flute carved from a vulture bone in Germany. Whoever made this understood music and pitch, spending significant time crafting it, not for hunting, but for music. These aren't isolated finds. Across Europe, Africa, and Asia, ancient sites are filled with decorative objects. Carefully crafted tools far more elaborate than necessary, requiring hours of focused work with no practical benefit. This is what people did when they weren't securing food. They created, they decorated, they made things beautiful. So let's reconstruct a day. You wake up around dawn. The fire from last night is still smoldering. Someone adds wood. You eat leftover meat or fish from yesterday. Maybe some nuts or berries collected the day before. Breakfast is social. People talk, they plan loosely for the day, not because they have to, because that's what humans do. Around mid-morning, a small group might leave to hunt or gather. But here's the key. You don't go every day. If a hunt was successful and food is stored, you might spend the morning working on tools. Sharpening a spear, weaving a basket, scraping an animal hide to make it soft and usable. This isn't work in the modern sense. There's no clock, no supervisor. You do it because competence matters, because being skilled earns respect. If hunting happens, it's not the frantic chase you see in movies. Humans are persistence hunters. We track animals at a steady jog for hours until they overheat and collapse. We can do this effectively because we sweat and regulate our body temperature while running. Most animals can't, so we outlast them. The hunt might take 3 to 6 hours, including travel. The animal is butchered and eaten. By early afternoon, the productive part of the day is over. What happens next is what modern people find hardest to understand. Nothing and everything. People rest, talk in the shade, play with children, and groom each other to reinforce bonds. They make jewelry from shells or beads or animal teeth. They carve designs into bones or stones. They nap. James Sussman documented that among the Juhahwansi, adults spend roughly 6 hours per day in social time. Not working, not sleeping, just being with other people, talking, laughing, telling jokes. Because in a world without money or police or written contracts, your survival depends entirely on your relationships. If people don't like you, they won't share food, so you invest enormous time in those bonds. Then, the sun sets. And this is when something remarkable happens. During the day, conversations were practical. Who saw animal tracks where? Which plants were ready for harvest? But at night, around the fire, 81% of conversations shifted to stories. Myths about how the world began. Tales of ancestors who did impossible things. Jokes that made everyone laugh. Adventures from far away. Wiesner argued that this is where human culture was actually born. Gods, spirits, the past, the future. And people didn't go to sleep and stay asleep the way you do now. Historical records and sleep studies confirm that before artificial light, humans slept in 2 phases. First sleep for about 4 hours, then an awakeful period of 1 to 2 hours in complete darkness, then second sleep. About 8 hours sleeping in 2 separate phases, and the rest resting, sitting, watching clouds, doing nothing in particular, existing without needing to justify your existence through productivity. Then, about 10,000 years ago, something changed.